And so, like the example we've used in talking to Richard Childress, he's a great outdoorsman. He loves the outdoors. Well, he's hunting in Montana and Idaho, and God forbid there's an ATV accident or
Absolutely.
a firearms accident.
I grew up in a rural community.
There you go, right. Exactly.
I grew up in a town of 82 people.
There you go.
Nearest hospital, 35-minute drive.
Right. There you go.
If anything happened to me, like I remember I broke my arm.
Right.
I had to wait for my father to come out of the field in a tractor.
There you go.
To take me to a hospital that was 45 minutes away.
See, so you're a living example of one of the things that we're trying to address, which is, and the medical practitioners or the medical professionals, they call this idea the golden hour. So when a child is injured, in that first hour, it's so important to address that child, get to them, transport them to the right hospital. If you get them to a trauma center, the child has a 25% greater chance of survival. Well, that's pretty good. If you don't, then you've got them at a hospital that's a non-trauma center, and you've got to make sure that group is schooled up to know what to do. And we at the Childress Institute, we've actually mapped the country. So we map the hospitals, and then we map the population, and it's kind of cool to look at this stuff. So you got a population of 300 million in the U.S., give or take. There's 75 million children under 18 in the U.S. But of those 75 million, about 18 million of them, like you, live in an area that they can't be transported within an hour by ground or air to a trauma center. So we kind of call them off the grid. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the system of trauma and you say, are we ready? Well, we're not as ready as we could be because we got holes. And that's one of the big areas that we're trying to tackle through some new ideas, an educational platform. In other words, bringing virtual education out into the rural areas, bringing care out into the more rural areas. I mean, these are all huge opportunities that will take lots of coalitions and resources to kind of get it done. And for someone like me who's been in business to move into this and to really live it and work it every day, it's just fascinating. It's a whole nother world.
You're still asking those questions, why?
Yeah,
and I'm saying you're still doing that. You still have to have a sense of curiosity in how we can make this better for this. Yeah. But it seems like the stakes are much higher.
Yes.
Like much higher.
Right, it's not a can of soup.
Yeah.
Right.
If Progresso puts the wrong label on it, or if like the wrong colors in their marketing.
And it's kind of interesting you say that too. It's because we at the Childress Institute, when we look at what's called the continuum of care, this is what medical professionals call it. There's this continuum of care, and again, it's kind of a sketch in your head. So you start, to your point, with prevention. You don't want it to happen. Yeah. Well, let's say it happens. Well, then you've got this golden hour to address the child, transport them to the right hospital, address them in the emergency department, determine if they need surgery. If they do have to have surgery, then they have to have care in the hospital. Then they might have to move to rehabilitation. Then they try to get back to life. But I mean, this is, this long journey. To your point, it's just a very
and you're
long
hoping
journey.
And you're hoping and expecting to get the best possible care, which
Bingo.
may not always exist.
Exactly right. And I think for the Childress Institute and a lot of organizations, you got to pick your spots. Mm-hmm. So we're really trying to focus on that golden hour of care. Is the paramedic as ready as he or she can be when he or she shows up at your fall in the field, in the cornfield? Mm-hmm. Or you could focus on this whole notion of return to life, which is pediatric neuropsychologists, school psychologists. Can the child concentrate in class? If the child recovers and is handicapped and they're wheelchair bound, what does the school have to do to address that child in the class? I mean, huge.